Hey everybody, time for another game theory community fitness motivation sort of video. And if you like the videos, like, sub, silly comment, share, support the channel if you can. I appreciate it, thanks. If you leave a like, if you leave a comment, if you sub, it actually does help the channel. I'll give you a second. I gave you 2 seconds because I was feeling generous. Anyway. You know, I wanted to talk about this, and I'm going to generalize a bit because I don't actually know the guy, and I don't actually know what he took per se. But apparently, seemingly, this guy was banned for what he thought he was taking supplements, but he had been taking steroids, right? He's, from what I understand, a very famous player, right? So this is not me knocking him for being a famous player or anything like that, and I'm going to generalize, but... Anyway, so I guess it sounds like he wanted to work out, but he was actually taking steroids or something like that. And man, 477,000 views. But you want to know what actually stood out to this about me? None of what you took would increase your performance in the FGC. Oh my God. A lot of these gym people are fake with their knowledge. Well, we might need to look at you, James Bank, you fucking idiot. Are you kidding me? No proof steroids improve fighting game performance. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. What is this? It shouldn't matter what you took. These are Karen rules that make no sense. Anabolic steroids are not even known to increase performance in a video game. What the fuck? Although banning Adderall, of course, we know about that. That would be a thing to actually look into. How the fuck does PEDs give someone advantage of fighting? Okay, are you fucking retarded? Do you think that steroids only build muscle? Steroids give you energy, dude. They give you motivation. Energy to keep going. I say this before and the motivational thing will be, well, before I get into that, the motivational thing will be, you got to remember, when my pictures were being stolen all over the internet, when I got #1 rated guy in the entire world on a looks website, do you know that I had low T? I've showed my health record. I know some people think it's fake, whatever, but just shows people aren't saying like some of the comments I'm reading in here. I actually did that with low T. As a matter of fact, the best shape I've ever been in, well, aesthetically maybe you could say, is, you know, because again, a lot of those pictures when people stole pictures of me on the internet, it was around the time that I actually, my health had taken a turn for the worse again, and I had about 4 months where I couldn't walk and couldn't really take care of myself again. But that made me lose a lot of weight, but the muscle I had, it kind of made me look really fucking ripped, right? But I digress. But that should be the motivation. You would be surprised about the kind of shape you can get in with low T. Okay? You don't need steroids to get in good shape. But what steroids do, because steroids don't just build muscle, they give you energy, you fucking idiot. Do you think having more energy isn't going to affect the way that you can play video games? I said this before, and I'm a full natty bro now, but I did try TRT recently, and I put it off for many years because, you know, many different reasons, right? Unfortunately, many of the reasons happened to me. I was afraid I was going to be someone that would have trouble getting dialed in, as they say, because I don't have low T because of a pituitary tumor. Knock on wood, right? Who knows? Maybe I'll get another tumor, but right now I don't have I have another tumor right now, unfortunately, but I don't have a pituitary tumor, at least. Again, but who knows? Things could always get worse. But I don't have low T because of a pituitary tumor. I have low T because of chronic disease and the radiation. If you've watched my fitness videos and all this kind of stuff, it's crazy to think that even after the radiation, you know, and then finally trying TRT, my body just does not, like, I don't know how you would explain it, like metabolize or something, like with my sex hormone binding goblin, you know, it's just completely fucked, right? So unfortunately, even trying the TRT couldn't really compensate for the damage that all this radiation has done to me, which is, again, it's a very frustrating situation. If you saw that recent, you know, health video, I've been in a lot of pain as the years have gone on, and things are getting worse and worse. But I can tell you though, trying the TRT, going from the levels at least of an 80-year-old man to a 60-year-old man was quite noticeable. I described it as almost imagine that you're watching, I guess if you're a nerd watching this, or if you're old enough, imagine your whole life you've been playing video games on a CRT TV, and then finally you get like a TV that's clear. It's like a bigger screen TV. Like my sight was more clear. I could see, I didn't have to concentrate as much to see, which I guess I never well, I mean, I'm always sick, right? But I never realized that I had to concentrate, that I've been concentrating to see all these years. I didn't realize how bad my sight was, but my sight was more expansive, like going to a higher resolution, right? I had more energy. I can tell you, going from an 80-year-old man to a 60-year-old man, although it's still terrible, I noticed the energy difference, right? I can only imagine what it's like for people that take steroids and they are healthy and they don't have health problems and they get that constant, people describe it as a Superman energy. Like you have that energy of when you're a teenager to keep going. You never get tired, right? Which I do. It's been a long time. It's been a long fucking time. But I do have vague memories of remembering before I got sick and having energy and all that kind of stuff, right? You just didn't have to sleep, right? You could sleep very little and still be ready to go. I could feel a little bit of that. And that's even me just going from an 80-year-old to 60. I gave myself 20 years of life, right? I can only imagine what it's like for people, that actually do steroids or TRT and they actually get to that, always that top level all the time. The good free testosterone, all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, again, I could not experience that. And it's actually telling just to show how much damage this radiation has done to me that even on TRT could not compensate for the damage that this radiation has done to my ability to convert or to fix my sex hormone binding goblin for free T. But the point is, steroids don't just build muscle, they give you energy. Okay? The idea that, steroids wouldn't affect you and, because it only builds muscle. No, it doesn't. It gives you energy. That's the biggest thing I noticed. All right. The energy more energy than I should have considering the situation. Right. Now you think about video game players and you think about a lot of nerds that all they do is they play video games all day. Well, imagine being able to play video games all day, all night long. You have God, I'm always surprised, I see some of the people, because again, I don't always look up these people. They're just a faceless person on the internet talking shit about me. God, how many times have I seen what the people look like me talk about? Fucking Christ, have they ever been outside? Just fat, disgusting slobs. And of course, the irony that these people are, I hate talking about how people look because I don't like how I look, but I would say that many of the people who talk shit about me are actually quite hideous looking, all while they talk about how amazing they are, which is, again, ironic, I would say. But to be able to have the energy, imagine being able to have the energy that, all you do is play video games all day and you don't get tired. You can lab all day and you don't get tired. You have mental clarity and you don't get tired, right? Steroids just aren't building muscle, dude. It's energy, right? And I agree, even back when I had played, years ago, certainly there were people talking about they would take Adderall for more concentration and everything like that. And even back when I played, I know this is a kind of a weird thing, right? But look at those cliche stories. I don't know if people do it now. I mean, I think video games are too tightly roped or something. I'm trying to think of the phrase I'm thinking of. Tightly constrained or something. Run on a tight schedule. Back in the day, look at that cliche tournament that, again, I was sick at a lot of tournaments that I was at. And there were multiple instances where the tournament was supposed to keep going, but people would see that I was sick and they'd be like, oh, hey, we got to take a break to go get stoned. And they would come back hours later, waiting for me to get more and more sick at the tournament in hopes that they could beat me. We've talked about that. Happened multiple times. I would assume people don't do that, but that kind of is a drug story in a way, right? Just like that one cliche tournament that I showed before. People, all those posts up of people joking about me dying and leaving me for dead are still there. Of people, hey, oh shit, Clayton's starting to get sick at the tournament. Let's delay the tournament for hours, and say that we have to go take a smoking break, right? And then they waited to the point that I actually ended up collapsing and stole my stuff. Fucked up, but I digress. It's kind of a drug story, sort of. But anyway, so can steroids make you better at a video game? Sure they could. Because they give you energy to keep going. And all you just fucking sit on your ass and play video games all day anyway. Imagine being able to do that and you never have to sleep, right? Or you have to sleep less, right? Now, I do agree, though, that a guy messaged and he's like, well, what are you going to do? Start drug testing everybody? And I would say that's probably not exactly the most logical thing to do, although who knows? Perhaps as the years go on, that could become more and more of a thing, But then again, we also have a game community that thinks button binding and macroing everything is fair, right? So I would not be surprised if one day you have a muscle-bound dude who takes a bunch of Adderall and steroids. Of course, there's the stereotypes of someone that, again, I've never done anything like this, but, there's the idea that people take so many steroids and it's the muscle-bound idiot or something like that, right? But, look at that. Actually, that's a kind of thing. this just popped up in my head. Wasn't something I was planning. Remember the Dolph Lundgren dude? Very, very Chad sort of dude. Very muscly dude. He took steroids and guess what? That dude is isn't he like doesn't he have like multiple science degrees and everything like that? He's like, not only does he martial arts, but he has like multiple degrees in certain sciences. And he's like super fucking smart, right? Like just because you take steroids doesn't mean you're a muscle bound retard. You can actually be pretty smart. Not everyone is an idiot and takes steroids, right? Some people do it because it gives you energy to keep going. That dude was able to keep studying and while working out. So he could study and work out at the same time without getting tired. Now, of course, he eventually became a model and a movie star, but, there you go. All right. Anyway, but, again, I don't know. I guess, I'm not necessarily saying that everyone should be tested, but then again, this is the same community that thinks that button binding and macroing doesn't make you better at a game. So what do I know? If you like the videos, like, sub, silly comment, share, support the channel if you want. I appreciate it. Thanks. The end.